Hi, it's Lee and welcome to the Tesla Economist. So the market and the majority of investors were expecting to see a Gen 3 vehicle on Investor Day. If not see one, at least hear some sort of specification as to what it will be and perhaps when it might be launched. However, instead we were just shown the same image we'd seen before, a vehicle that looks to be a compact with a cover over it. Oh, and also a vehicle that looks bigger, most likely a van, also covered. A van and a compact are the only other two official vehicles Elon has mentioned Tesla will make that we have yet to see a reveal for. So we now know that Tesla have two more models in the pipeline, a compact and a van. Anyway, I've mentioned that Gen 3 is possibly more about a production process rather than a specific vehicle. Although through this new production process, you will see a new vehicle, and it may be that Model 3 and Y cannot be retrofitted as a result. This goes back to the original manufacturing process of the Model 3, on how Tesla wanted to create a car that was fully automated on the production line, only to lead Tesla through the infamous production hell. A car that was designed to be built manually could not be fully automated on production. Essentially, they self-imposed constraints on the design. The example that Elon used to mention was that robots are not good at picking up fluff. Elon wanted to have as much automation as possible in the production line, but jumped the gun with the Model 3 in Fremont and nearly bankrupted the company. Tesla needs to get EV costs down. EVs simply cost more to make than ICE cars. This is why Tesla spends so much time and effort on manufacturing, vertical integration, and economies of scale in order to get the costs down so they can actually be competitive with ICE cars in a broader market at price points where more consumers spend money. The processes have to improve further. Therefore, instead, Tesla are now looking at the manufacturing process first, with first principles thinking, and judging how low a cost they can actually produce an EV in the first place. And from there, the design will come second, which is something we saw with the Cybertruck, hence its unique shape. With more advanced, efficient, and automated manufacturing, then you're able to reduce production costs. Tesla are continually doing everything they can to reduce the costs. We saw a lot of innovation with the structural battery packs and front and rear castings. And eventually, when Berlin and Texas do finally ramp up with 4680 cells ramp 2, then we should see a dramatic decrease in cost there. But Tesla want to sell 20 million vehicles a year. A Model Y is still going to be too expensive for the majority of people. Sure, a compact vehicle is going to be smaller and cost less as a result, but if we're looking at $25,000 price point, it's going to take more than a slight reduction in size to get costs down enough for that price. So Tesla are rethinking manufacturing again. And that is what Tesla have done. Just like I said, they'd show us an animated guide as to their next generation of manufacturing, similar to how they showed us the structural battery packs and front and rear castings working on Battery Day. We now see the phase for manufacturing, which involves working on each compartment more independently. So rather than assembling the entire vehicle on one production line and adding parts in it to each step and process, with the entire vehicle moving along the line, instead, it's broken up into segments, where each part is worked on independently, and then all assembled together at the end. It means more people or robots can work simultaneously on the production line, resulting in a 44% improvement in operator density and 30% improvement in space-time efficiency. It means that people or robots don't have to work around other parts of the car and get inside the cabin to try and install components, as it's a separate piece. They have easier access to installation. This means more steps can be automated rather than requiring the flexibility required from humans, as it's more accessible to robots. This is demonstrated with a Model Y, but just for illustration purposes. Obviously, it'll be a next generation vehicle when it's done. So to recap again, the manufacturing process is unboxed. The manufacturing line goes like this. It's split up into two parts. We have the stamping processes, the doors, trunk, front, side panels all get stamped out, then painted, then the trim and components are added to them. They go independently down their own production lines. But every step of the process they're being worked on, compared to the whole car going down the line with only one part of the car being worked on from each process. For example, one step might be installing the infotainment screen, but nothing else is being done to the doors, trunk, seats, etc. Whereas this way, the doors are on their own production line continually being worked on, whilst at the same time, the side panels are on their independent production line also being worked on. This means just the panels get painted, which likely means a far smaller paint shop, which is a big deal, and the trim is then inserted after. Meanwhile, we have the rear casting off to do its own thing. The trunk is added, the rear seats are added, and that is all that's worked on that line. Then, the same with the front casting. The frunk is added, and all necessary parts like the steering wheel, infotainment system. Then we have the structural battery pack. The center console is added, the front seats are added, etc., all on its own line. Then at the end, the front and rear castings are put in place and the side panels are added. The structural battery pack with front seats goes through the bottom of the vehicle, which is amazing. Then the doors, front and trunk lid, roof and wheels are all added at one final stage. This is a parallel production line. I hope I've explained this well enough and you understand just how truly amazing this is. You don't need the entire car to be assembled in one line. This might be due to the fact the way Tesla have compartmentalized the vehicle into the rear casting, front casting, and structural battery pack, and the vehicle production stages can now be broken up into those three. I think this is also what might have been implied by the esoteric Investor Day background. I mean, seeing and hearing it now, it seems really obvious that this is a better practice of manufacturing vehicles. It makes you wonder why all the other manufacturers are still using Henry Ford's processes from over 100 years ago. Again, I think it might be due to the front and rear castings and structural battery pack that Tesla are able to do this. These advances have not just saved many robots and manufacturing processes, but they've also opened up new ideas of what is possible. And like I said, they've demonstrated this with a Model Y, which was not even designed around the structural battery packs or front and rear castings initially. That was all retrofitted. So imagine what the next gen vehicle will be like that is entirely designed around this production process. So what does this end up meaning? Well, it results in over a 40% reduction in manufacturing footprint. Not too far off a factory needing to be half the size in order to generate the same output. In other words, Tesla can build factories faster with less capex. And this may have nothing to do with the next-gen vehicle, but solely due to the parallel production line. Again, the next-gen vehicle is going to be designed all around this production process. Imagine if Tesla can build these factories in just 9 months or so. Why would they stop at Mexico? Probably Berlin and Shanghai pretty soon after that. And if they're producing low-cost vehicles, then they're bound to sell all they can make. If each factory is producing $1 million a year and they're at these $25,000 price points, then there'll be huge economies of scale building near each market, due to the fact the market for them will be so big as the prices are so low. We're also shown a chart that shows how innovation and size are able to cut costs of the 3 and Y by 50% for the new generation vehicle. But I'm not sure this is solely from this parallel production technique. I think it's just one of the ways that contribute to lower costs. Tesla are doing everything they can to find ways of cutting the cost of ownership of EVs, whether it be through insurance, removing parts, or lower cost batteries. They are relentless in their mission to find ways of reducing cost to the end user. But clearly this parallel production is certainly going to contribute. On the other hand, the chart they show almost does imply that this alone could cut costs by 50%. It also likely further debunks the idea of a single casting for a car, as that would obviously not work in this process. If you had one single cast, then it would also be too hard to work around and use robots, compared to the parts being open and easily accessible like we've just seen. So I think the whole single casting theory has been put to bed now. There are a lot of other potential issues with that idea anyway. This parallel production seems to make more sense. This production line will be implemented in the new factory in Mexico, with what sounds like the next-gen vehicle too. I guess there's no need for Tesla to reveal the vehicle until they're closer to production, as they don't want people cancelling Model 3 orders in fear of the Osborne effect. If the new factory will break ground in 3 months and take 9 months to build, then perhaps we won't get a reveal of the next generation car for another 12 months still. But there may be some hints along the way. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.